So I'm going to do this as a live stream. If anybody wants to join me, I'll try to answer your questions. I want to go back and talk about what's been happening with Trump and Putin over the last week. About 5, 6 days ago, I put out a video talking about how Trump's tone has shifted, and I showed you how there was this period of nothing but good things to say about Putin, and then there was a strange period where he kind of went back and forth, and then in the last week or so, it's been a lot more hostile. And I'll talk about that, and I'll answer whatever questions that you might have. So thank you for joining me. Pop your questions into the box if you have any questions. So I'm going to start here with this. I want to show you this image from, or this little post from Igor Shushko. He does pretty good work putting things out. And I'm going to put a caveat that this part that's bold, where Trump decides to receive regular intelligence briefings, I think that's speculation. I couldn't find anything. And no, and I'm not trying to talk smack about Igor Shushko either, because he does great work again. But I couldn't find anything that confirmed in like objective news accounts that this was actually the case, that this is what has shifted. Okay, let's read through this, and then I'll answer whatever questions. By the way, tell me in the comments where you're from, or that sort of thing, and who I'm talking to. I'm just kind of curious of who's here, where you're from, if you're from Europe or the United States or Australia or just wherever, and then we'll get started. Okay. 'Cause- okay, let's go start working our way through this. President Trump's sudden shift in tone against Russia and desire to aggressively arm Ukraine is probably a result of intelligence briefings he chose to receive in the aftermath of the backlash from the DoD halting weapons to Ukraine without his knowledge. Okay, so I get that. Um, like he felt like he was caught off guard a couple of times. Like you could clearly tell from his body language, he was like, "Oh, yeah, I'll have to look into that." Okay, so but I don't know that there actually was some new briefings that weren't being done. I do know that Rubio is like, you can't do the job of Secretary of State and uh, your national defense um, person. I can't remember what the title is, the 3 letter acronym, and be in charge of, I don't know what, like 2 other things simultaneously. It just doesn't fly, right? Once he fired Walls, he didn't replace him yet. Okay, so July. Now here's the pattern of what happened and when. July 1st, confusion as the Pentagon unilaterally halts weapons deliveries to Ukraine. Like that, they were already in Poland, and we were all like, "Hey, look what Trump just did." And it turns out it doesn't seem like it was Trump. And then we looked at it and we thought, okay, it's this other guy, this undersecretary. But it doesn't seem like it was him. It seems like it was Pete Hegseth. Hegseth, I think, was trying to follow the MAGA agenda as he understood it, which would have been in line with Trump, but Trump didn't give him that um, uh, the green light to go ahead and do that. Um, thank you for populating and adding your comments of where you're from and that sort of thing. Uh, I'll show this one. Yeah, although I don't always agree with you, you are one of the more accurate, non-sensational channels, right? I try to be accurate. I don't expect you to have to agree with me. I am just trying to lay out what's going on to provide context. So, and for that, I get, charged with, you're both siding, or you're this or that, or you're MAGA, you're not MAGA, you hate MAGA. I'm just trying to show you what's going on. Okay. If you have comments, put them out here. Of course, I'll try to prioritize super chats as answers, because it's not cool not to do that. But I'll try to answer your questions as things go on. Let me see if there's anything here real quick. Do ordinary American know Trump lies through his teeth, or do they know, KNOW? Do they know that Trump lies through his teeth, or do they just not care? Jim from UK. That's actually a really good question. I think pretty much everybody in the United States knows that he's like in kind of his own, whatever he thinks is true, or that he's a massive liar. Like somewhere in between that, they don't think that he's trying to be objective in reality. And the MAGA side doesn't care. They just want to go along with him. The left wants to point out every time that he's inconsistent as a terrible lie. But yeah, pretty much everybody understands that Trump is not like your normal politician. Like, just for whatever that's worth. I think that's a good question. Okay, so let's work our way through this timeline. July 1st, confusion as the Pentagon unilaterally halts weapons. July 2nd through 5th, then you see the White House figures out who at the DOD yanked the weapons. And again, we thought it was Elbridge Colby, and that's what everything was pointing to, and it turned out to be Hegseth. The weapons slated for delivery to Ukraine without Trump's authorization, and like Trump was even caught off guard with that. So that was part of the package here. So, and then yeah, thanks for populating in the chat room. If you have any questions, please continue to ask. And then on this is what gets interesting now. 5th through 6th, Igor Shishko is claiming that Trump decides to receive regular intelligence briefing on Russian invasion of Ukraine, probably from CIA Director Radcliffe. Now, we don't know that that's actually that something changed like that. We have no idea whether that is the case or is not the case or what have you. So I wouldn't argue that that is definitively true, and I couldn't find any proof that it necessarily was. So yeah. Okay, let's go here with John Brooks commented on this here. I didn't get any feedback on my on a particular thing that he was suggesting. I think if I recall correctly, I told you to go to Technology for Ukraine and go there and talk to them. I'm just kind of a middleman, just trying to help make the connection, but I'm not the guy that actually can make those kinds of yeah. So that's not something I can answer. Okay. Did I hit the right one? I didn't hit the right one, but that's not bad. I really appreciate your knowledge and perspective. I completely support you. I have dual citizenship, Portuguese and Brazilian, and I'm deeply ashamed of Brazil's choice. Well, I mean, there are a number of countries that have black eyes right now. This is, I think, the one I was trying to get to. Colin Tucson says, is Trump's apparent recent softening an eye on forthcoming U.S. elections duly acquiesced and nudged by Putin, who knows what's in his long-term interest. It's way too close to be to the midterm election, so I don't think that that's anything at all. I think, I mean, the more cynical will say that it's because of like the Epstein scandal thing that's breaking, but I don't know that that's it. I think that if you follow the timeline, that was before this broke. And okay, let's get back to the timeline. Trump decides to receive regular intelligence briefings. Let's say we just don't know. But then on July 7th, Trump and Pentagon announce more weapons for Ukraine. And then it continues July 8th. Trump calls out Putin for trying to feed him BS. I think at this point, he's just pretty ticked because he's seeing like nothing's changing. Putin will be very nice to him on the phone, but will do nothing about it. And he said so much. And yeah, that's really what's going on. Okay. July 8th, audio of Trump threatening Putin to bomb the blank out of Moscow leaked with perfect timing. So maybe that leaked intentionally at the time. We just don't know who's leaking or what the motivation is. Again, July 8th, Trump decides to sanction Russia and allies who fund the invasion of Ukraine with oil and gas purchases. Congress will pass this law this month. Well, this has been in the works for some time, so I would discount that particular one as well and say, like, I don't know that that's necessarily a big thing. Let me show you this comment here. Robert Carmack says, I have no confidence in Trump. His next move will depend on the next person he listens to. He needs a coherent position and implements it. Okay, so let me talk about that. So I've said for a long time that Trump can zig or zag precisely for this reason, because he doesn't have an ideological compass that's making him point this way or making him point that way, right? That, like, I think this is a very fair point, right? You knew that with George W. Bush, his compass was always pointing to the right. You knew with Obama, it's always pointing to the left. You could predict that, right? Like, that was just the way that these guys were. Trump's not like that. And so there's a reason that you have no confidence. I would also add to that, don't believe his words, watch what his actions are. I think he is starting to zag a bit. Now he's zigged and zigged and zigged and zigged toward Russia. I think he might he's indicating that he's going to be zagging, but he hasn't actually taken the actions. Although it's reported that he's going to be spending this 300 million for Ukraine, and then there's this big announcement on Monday. So believe his words, right? I mean, let's be fair. I'm not saying he's changed entirely. I'm not doing that. But yeah, so there's a reason why you have no confidence in him, and that's completely understandable. Um, so another comment here: has Trump been shamed into doing the right thing and helping Ukraine by world leaders? So one theory here is that if he is getting briefings and that he knows that Ukraine's in a precarious position, he doesn't want to let Ukraine fall on his watch and then be shamed by that. I mean, that's a legitimate working theory. I'm curious what you all think about that. Um, so, I mean, that could be part of what's going on. Um, yeah, and other people are saying whoever had his ear last, that's who he listens to. I think there does seem to be something to that. Um, so anyway, so so he'll just blame Biden. There's even a funny meme that said the San Andreas fault is going to be renamed under Trump as the Biden fault. Just play on words. Okay. At any rate, let me get back to oh, wait, hold on. There's some other comments here. He's spinning. Yeah. So yeah, like he can go different directions. He seems to have just been going toward Russia because he wants to make a deal, wants to make money, wants to do these things. And if you had no moral compass, let alone ideological compass, then this seems like, okay, that makes sense. But you can't just overlook what's happening, the plight of the Ukrainians and what's happening to them. And, this continuing to stall and stall and stall. 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. But he hasn't said 2 weeks this last time. He said, we'll see something change on Monday or so. We'll see. Okay, let's get back to this. And so we were talking about the 8th. The 9th, Trump agrees to arm Ukraine through European NATO ally purchases of U.S. weapons. Well, this is on the table. They're talking about this. And apparently this goes back to May when they met at some conference a few months back where they were actually, and if that's the case, then that's a different picture than if it was just a quick recent announcement. So yeah, I just it's really interesting what's happening here. Okay, July 10th, Secretary of State Rubio announces 100,000 Russian soldiers killed in Ukraine in just the last 6 months. And I talked about that in one of my videos. And if that actually is the case, if that's actually what's transpired, that's pretty significant because it changes the picture pretty radically. That killed to casualty rate is close to, it's like 1.2 to 1 or something, 1 to 1.2 or something like that. That's really amazing. So yeah, okay. Again, if you have questions, put that on here. I'm glad you can catch me live. Sometimes I don't like decide, like put this out generally. I kind of decide like, okay, I have time to do this because my time is very precious. How about your first place Mets? Mets, baby, come on. Let's go Mets. Okay. Yeah. If I wanted to be like that at the end of the season, though, the Mets are a baseball team. If you're in Europe and don't know who the Mets are, or Australia and don't know who the Mets are, yeah. So the Patriots are on the. It looks like Patriots will be. The Germans will purchase a few Patriots, a couple of systems, and maybe another country will come along and purchase some more, and then that'll start to provide. So it's not everything that they need. Zelensky says he needs 25 Patriot systems, and they have 8, I think, and they might have 12 by the end of the. I mean, if they're lucky, and if they're really, really lucky. I mean, there was a report of another like 10 systems or something, but I don't know that there's anything verifiable. I'm a free speech guy, so if you want to say "Let's go Phillies," it's no skin off my nose. Although I prefer the Mets. So you're talking about fake president Taco 2 weeks wants to always be a winner. We need to convince him that Ukraine will win, otherwise he's a loser. So I'm highlighting this because like he does want to be a winner, and that's the issue there. Okay, great. You can like who you like. That it's no problem. You can speak your mind here on my channel in my comments. I don't like throw you out unless you're just rude or hostile to other people. If you're as long as you are civil, you can have whatever opinion you want to have. Okay, so let's get back to this. Secretary of State Rubio announces that 100,000, and then July 10th, Trump starts using PDA, Presidential Drawdown Authority, to arm Ukraine. That was a marked shift as well. Well, it's been announced. He hasn't actually done it yet. Um, okay, I'm being fair. Dodgers. Okay, let's not spend the rest of our time talking about baseball. Sorry that I golf. Are you kidding me? Okay. So he's said that he was going to, or there are sources that said he's about to use this presidential drawdown authority for that, and that's a marked shift for Trump. So okay, so what questions you have, put them in the comments here, and I'll try to address them as much as I can because I'm about out of Igor Shishko's timeline here. Trump is aware of even particular strike that on Ukrainian maternity hospital that took place just hours earlier. It's the strongest indication of regular intelligence briefs. Now that's really important because he's been caught off guard again and again, and that's been a very strange thing. Brian put this out that the PDA was the first zag. Yeah, I think that will be the first meaningful zag, not just some rhetoric, but that something that actually happens. Now, he's authorized something to be purchased, but that's not the same as spending with the PDA. And the PDA is 300 million, and it could, and there's about 3 billion there. So it's not like a big thing, but it's still an important mark of going the right direction. Jimmy Johnson says, let's see if anything happens on Monday. That's right. I told you, like, because a lot of people were like, well, I'll wait and see. That's fair. Wait and see. We'll see if anything happens on Monday. What's going to happen on Monday? I don't know. I speculated about it in let me see if I can find it. Hold on a second. I was speculating about it in a video just the other day where I was saying, here's what I think is going to happen. Um, and let me see if I can pull this up and show you which video it was, because there were a number of things that happened. This was just like yesterday here. Yeah, this video here. Trump announces announcement will enrage Putin. Here's what's coming, and there were like, let me show you on the screen. Um, that's not it. I thought I was showing you something on the screen that's not the thing I'm showing you. Okay. Not sure how to do that. Let's change this and go to, yep, there it is. And go to this video here, all bad news for, I'm not a great live streamer, folks. I'm sorry about that. But it is all bad news for Ukraine. If it's not if his announcement is not that they're going to support with patriots, then there's the Senate bill, then there's the European bill, or the European sanctions, then there's drawdown authority, then there's the Senate approving more money for Ukraine, and that's only went on from 300,000 to 500,000, but that's still something. So there's a lot that could be happening, and so that's, yeah, we don't know exactly what it is, but it doesn't seem like there's any scenario where it'll be a positive thing for Putin. And there's just numerous things. If you haven't watched this, I also want to talk about one other thing here, and that is this. And I posted this on a post because it was a little irritating. People, well, why is that not moving? Um, let's see here. Let's move that over. There we go. I posted this, and people were like, "I don't like that thumbnail." Not a lot, but isn't this what we want to see happen? Like, I mean, you don't have to like Trump to want Trump to break free of Putin's chains and actually see a muscular response from the United States for Ukraine. I think that's what we're actually all about here. So we'll see. In the meantime, there are some dumb things that are happening, like sanctions with the European Union or that sort of thing. That's kind of dumb. Um, This is an interesting comment. I feel like Trump's stance right now is the same as the stance he had right before the Iran strikes. This had to happen finally. Y- I feel like that too, but I can't prove that there's something there. But there has been a shift in rhetoric. You can see it if you're looking for it. If you're reading the news as much as I am, you'll see it. And yeah, that's good to know. Now, when we're talking about uh, Iran, Trump knew no one would back Iran, so he did bombing. Russia would get some actual world support, and that he can't handle that. Okay, I don't know that that's the case, but the thing about Iran that I want to mention is that um, what's fascinating about that, Iran was something that if you were a commentator from the left, you might have got wrong by thinking that the Republicans are all isolationists and they wouldn't back him. But most of the rank and file Republicans actually followed Trump to say, yes, the Iranians shouldn't have a nuke. I think now the loudest voices were the ones like the Marjorie Taylor Greens and uh, Bannon and those kind of people who are actual isolationists or actually all in on no, we shouldn't be at war with anybody or we shouldn't do anything like that. And that's a different crowd. But that was a minority report. So I think if Trump actually turns toward Ukraine, we could see Republicans rank and file kind of turning that direction as well. Um, like Anna says, demilitarize Russia, but what will it take to de-imperialize Russia? Regime change, like that might be it. But so after World War II, Japan and Germany were pretty decimated, and they were let up off the mat by you can't be like this anymore, and like Japan, you don't get a military, and eventually we let it start to whatever. Same with Germany, and Germany has had a very pacifistic couple of generations now, and so but so they had to change, and because they had to change, they did. Now, when the Soviet Union collapsed, nobody had to change. Like the mentality was still there. Nothing changed in the mentality. So, yeah. All right, let me keep going here. And okay, so hey, Prof, I'm the one who commented on your videos and said, don't leave yourself short, saying you're just a professor. My son has recently become a professor. Okay, so I, I say that to set myself apart that I'm not a military guy. I'm not a politician. Look, I'm just trying to provide context and help you critically think about what's going on. And so that's why I use that kind of language. So that's what we do. Okay. Prof, we're here for the facts and insights, not the production quality. Well, thank God, because if you were here for the production quality, I'd be in a very bad shape because yeah, I'm not really all that great at this. Um, let's see. Short of Russia completely collapsing into smaller states, it'll be impossible to change the imperialistic mindset of a country that spans 11 time zones. I'm not sure that that's necessarily the case, but I do think that they have to be beaten. And for me, I'm not actually a big fan of it breaking up into multi states. And I'll tell you why. And like people are like, huh, why not? Okay, I want Ukraine to get its children back. And if there's a big breakup and lawlessness and warlords and infighting between different factions within what was Russia, the odds of getting those children back are slim. The continued unification of Russia, at least for that part, is important. The continued unification of Russia for paying reparations to Ukraine, that would be important as well. So all right, that's the way that I would process this. Um, no one can claim that Prof is an AI. Who's claiming that? um, but I did use AI for that Hulk meme here because I mean I'm no artist, so um, Russia will not collapse. Sorry, maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know. I do know that the economy is in very bad shape, and I can see sign after sign. Now, with that, I can't say that it's going to collapse tomorrow or Russia's, on the ropes or that kind of thing. it is showing some really bad health indicators for the economy, and that's what you would expect. Like war, unless you're like just stealing your neighbor's stuff, which they're doing some of that, but war is not an enterprise that's going to grow you or help you be bigger. It's just going to take you down, but you have to pay it. Just you have to pay the cost of it one way or another. Just like I have to pay for insurance or have to pay my mortgage or something. I don't want to pay my insurance, but you have to pay that. Um, all right, let me see some other comments here if there's anything that we want to talk about. And I'll keep this short. I'll keep this for another maybe 10 minutes tops. And then so let's see what else we have here. If you have something that you really, really want to ask, please do that. Um, Let's see. Prof, please do yourself a favor. Trump will never change. Why all these delays? Why wait? Ukraine people are being murdered daily. Trump will not come to Ukraine aid. Well, I mean, we will see. But again, it's a believe it when you see it kind of thing. And that's what I've been telling you. I've not been telling you just trust me. And by the way, if anybody just says, well, just take my word for it or just trust me, watch only my channel, run away. Like I'm perfectly fine with you watching others and comparing notes about what I say and seeing what you think is true. That's exactly the way that you should be processing this sort of thing. And anyone who tells you the opposite is that they're not trustworthy. Okay. This is interesting. Prof, my take is that Trump is enslaved by the perceptions of his MAGA minions and as well as achieving a desire for a Nobel Peace Prize a la Obama. If you don't know the background with Obama, Obama got a Peace Prize just for being elected. And Trump does seem to want a Nobel Peace Prize based on some statements. And Putin has made Trump look bad in the eyes of the world. I think that last line is certainly fair. I don't know that you get a peace prize by arming another nation. I don't know that that's happened before, but I think that that might be something that the Peace Prize committee would be thinking if you would sincerely do something. I don't know. I'm not in their heads, but you bring peace to Ukraine by stopping Russia, and you bring peace to the world by stopping Russia by keeping Xi from thinking that this is a good idea. We've made it more and more likely that Xi's going to kick off a war in between China and Taiwan. And I think that that's more likely now than it was in 2022. I know that the U.S. government is thinking of this as being something that they're looking at as doctrinally preparing for within the next couple of years. And I've gotten that from some high-ranking military folks, not high-ranking, mid to low high-ranking tier folks that I know and trust. Yeah, so. Yeah, I'm not holding my breath, but I'm hoping that he will help Ukraine. Yeah, I hope that he will as well. Um, yeah, hey, thanks. I appreciate that you love these videos and you watch them daily. If you can do me a favor, y'all, if you can hit the like button when you see these videos, it helps it spread. It helps the algorithm. If you see the thumbnail and you click on it and then you watch it through, YouTube goes, "Oh, this is good stuff." So we'll just pass this along. If you see the thumbnail and it goes by, YouTube is less likely to show it to someone else. If you see this thumbnail and click on it and then click right off, it's less likely to show it to someone else. So that's what I figured out over 3 years about how YouTube actually works. And we're trying to spread this. By the way, when I started doing this, it was because there was a dearth of news. And it was just like, there was a spike about Ukraine war in the very beginning, and I was paying attention, and then it kind of dried up. And like a few months into it, it was like, where's the news about Ukraine? That spike has gone back up, or it's not to the same degree as the beginning of the war, but the spike has spiked again where like I see a lot, even on Fox News, like CNN every night has covered some particularly with, oh, what's her name? Erin? No, not Erin. What's her name? She's got black hair. I can't remember what her name is, but particularly on the I think it's 10 o'clock show on CNN. But Fox News has had more and more segments about it. So yeah, um, something is shifted. I don't know what it is, but something is shifted. Um, yeah. So mainstream media doesn't give Ukraine enough coverage. I think that's absolutely fair. And that's why, a dozen or two UA tubers are out here doing what we're doing. Okay. My point being that when you analyze Trump, do not just analyze with a viewpoint of his ego. I consider that he does not like all lives lost in war. He has said that many times. Sure, that's fair. I mean, his ego is huge, and it's a big story for anything, war or any other topic. But there's more to him than that. And I got him wrong because I was banking on that his ego would not allow him to let Vladimir Putin run around him. But apparently that wasn't it. But now it seems like either anger or fear of looking bad may be the thing. Okay, I'm going to take three more questions and then we're going to be done. So whatever you got, put it out there and let's see um, whatever you have to say here. Um, yeah, and then we'll just wrap up well, I appreciate that you appreciate what I'm doing here. I'm trying to be helpful and provide context and help you understand what's going on. Um, EU has sovereign. I think you mean sovereign wealth funds that were built instead of paying their mandatory military spending. EU should spend their wealth funds. Well, so what they've done is they've allowed other EU countries to be able to spend beyond a certain deficit threshold that they were not allowed to spend in like some can even deficit spend for defense purposes if it's related to Ukraine or that sort of thing, or trying to meet the 5% NATO. What are wealth funds? This is the amount that a country has in the bank, basically. So, okay. Let's see. Two more. That's a good one. Trump is currently mad that he has been conned by Putin, but how long will his anger last? I don't know. And hopefully it's more than just anger. Uh, I mean, hopefully it's more of an insight that, hey, this is bad for the world and this is just going to keep going on and that sort of thing. And okay. Last question here. Hey, Prof, would you make videos? What would you make videos about if the Ukraine war ends in the future? Well, the Ukraine war will end in the future. I was making videos about leadership on my other channel, and then I shifted gears and just started talking about Ukraine because that's all that I want to talk about because that was important. Um, I'm afraid that the world has enough very bad things going on about it that we might be talking about Iran again, or we might be talking about China or something along those lines. But I just saw the egregious violations of the the innocents in Ukraine, that they weren't picking a fight. They weren't trying to extend the war, and Russia just decided that they were going to do this. So, yeah. So I don't know what'll happen in the future, but like this is important to talk about right now. All right, my friends, that's all that I have. I said I would do three, and I did three at the very end. And so that's where we are. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you for being the kind of people that care about Ukraine.